We're ready. We got this.
Just waiting for Liam to come back.
How you been?
Yeah, I'm really well. How are you?
Hello?
Good. Hello.
You? No. Oh.
Let's try another way.
Let's just message you to say that we can definitely hear each other. Eek.
You two can chat if you want. I'm just going to try and do it on my iPad, if that's all right. But it'll work out. We'll get there.
Okay.
So tell me what's new, Mel.
Well, we've been busy this end trying to get the marathon off the ground for year 2, which has been really hectic, but very enjoyable.
I know. That's so exciting.
Yeah, and had a lovely chat with one of your team members as well about how we can hopefully build in more opportunities for not-for-profits, to also get in with the funnel of it.
It would be so amazing, Mel, because, well, as you know, with nonprofits, the lifeblood is just, it's funding. And it's like when that came across that you had talked, I don't know if it was Emily or Oiku, I was just like, oh my God, like, this is just like too good to be true. Because as you know, I mean, me and Emma been, and you've always been right there too, but Emma's been more front facing. Yeah. And it's just like, oh my God, this is freaking awesome for all like 3 of us to be able to work together. And like, I just had a super proud moment that I have to share with you while we're talking about YMM. I just got this message from somebody and she says, I appreciate it all. YMM is changing my life.
Well, that makes it all worth it,
Sorry,
doesn't
ladies,
it?
I'm trying to get it on my iPad, but just bear with me 2 seconds.
We're chatting away. We're catching up.
You two look lovely. I wish I could hear you though.
Yeah, but that makes it worth it, right? And I think for all of those interactions where it's like, oh no, this is having deep impact for me, makes all of the hurdles putting in, it's a huge amount of time and input for people to keep any form of charitable or not-for-profit offering on the table for people. So it's not without a lot of hard work. And so when you get those things where people are like, this is really life-changing for me, then it's worth it.
You have days where you're like, what am I doing? Am I beating my head against the wall? Like, is this? And then you get those messages and you're like, all right.
Right.
And it seems like they always come along just when you're about to like go, the universe has a funny way.
It really is a funny way of working. It almost always is when you're just about to throw the towel in. It's like, hang on a minute.
I'm sure you guys have had so many of those minutes because you guys have probably just been like, well, anybody growing, I'm sure, you guys are smashing it. You guys are doing so freaking well.
Yes. I mean, season 1, also we're only small. So it's been, the fact that 2,000 crew have been trained now is just absolutely wild. And Emma is just tour de force. I think what she does well is she does what she does and she does it well. And she's a fantastic trainer. So it's the fact, now people are starting to find training through just, word of mouth and recommendation, which is just huge because, I mean, I can do all of the initiatives for raising awareness and trying to funnel people in, but really it's kind of word of mouth that is the most powerful thing of all, especially within a community such as yachting, which is really tight knit.
Word of mouth, I mean, is just, it's insane. Yeah. He's back.
He's back.
That was emotional.
Can you hear us?
About that.
Can you hear us, Liam?
Okay?
Yeah, can you hear us?
Perfect. I'm on the iPad, so it mightn't go too well, but let's kick it off. How are you both?
Great.
Well.
You got a little bit of sun.
Here's a challenge in the morning. Are my eyes looking at the camera now or now?
It's so hard.
The first one. Now. No.
Now. All right. Now. It's on an iPad. All right, perfect. How is everyone?
Good. How are you?
Cool. I think we're streaming live already.
Fabulous.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so
Right?
welcome to Check-In Tuesday. We just ticked off. The purpose of today is to raise awareness for crew and mental health and find space for it. And we are blessed to have two wonderful ladies who understand the value of that. Captain Kelly Gordon, welcome back. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
Excellent, excellent. I'm in Seattle. I haven't had my first coffee yet. It's 6 a.m, so I'm just kind of engaging the mind, you know?
You're
That's
barely
computer
awake.
issues. And Melanie, how's things today?
Yeah, really well. We're actually classic Brit here, but I'm about to say it's boiling. We've got a heat wave of 34 degrees, so it's really a true test of my
Wow.
my former yachty resolve to be in the heat.
Yeah, what's 40 degrees already?
Yeah, so it's really hot, really hot for the UK anyway. We don't have aircon in places, and it's kind of just a bit wild for it to be this hot here. So enjoyable, though, I will say.
And for those who don't know, Melanie is an astound author of a lovely book, and I have them on the bridge. I'll go pick them up in a minute. And all new crew, when they come on, I'm like, here's 2 books for you. Here's 2 books, bit of homework, But also the founder of Marathon for Mental Health. Now, just introduce those who don't know about it, because I don't think there's anyone who does it now. I'm going to keep screaming it, though.
Well, I think there are a few people that don't know exist, which is why doing chats like this is so wonderful. But Marathon for Mental Health is a flexible marathon to run, walk, or hike wherever you are in the world. And you can do it any way. You can do it through multiple 5Ks with your team or your crew. You can do it as 2 half marathons, as some hikes, however you like to, across the course of October. And we connect the marathon to, at the minute, Ice One, that is a charity that offers amazing welfare supports to seafarers, and one of which is Yacht Crew Helpline, which is a 24/7 service to crew. And the primary reason this marathon is set up is to ensure that crew know what mental health resources are out there for them. So we do that as our core for the reason to get people out and about and talking about mental health, but also so that we can find and piece in opportunities throughout the month of October for people to connect in person and kind of burst the yachting bubble a bit and just get out off the boat and find community in activity.
Yeah, it was quite exciting last year. I joined it with a crew, and there was kind of 10 of us that started it. And kind of once we got to the October period, there's only like 3 or 4 that actually accomplished it. And I said, that's okay. That doesn't matter. But the thing is about what I like about it is the community and the movement, the Strava group you had and the pictures we were sending and the feel good hat. That's what I like. But hello, Captain Scott. How are you?
Oh, pretty good, pretty good.
Fantastic. Where are you these days?
Luxurious Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, okay. I bet you it's hot there.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's actually, the breeze is blowing. It's actually pretty nice. It's
fantastic.
It's not quite the stillness of summer where we get that wave of water that we walk into, but it's not bad.
Well, I'm in Sitka, Alaska. It's pretty remote up here. I think the crew are starting to realize it. I've only been here 3 days, and I can kind of see the crew almost going stir crazy a little bit. The movement part of things for crew wellness, and I think we'll start with Captain Kelly. I mean, you've seen it over the years evolve, and it always just was work, work, work. Now it seems that we have to, as captains and leaders in industry, make this space for crew to go out and engage. So where do you see it kind of when your vessel or your platforms? How do you encourage your crew to go out there and find that space?
Well, I don't know if maybe just giving back and helping me is in my blood, but and it's even, I just want to say, it doesn't have to be huge. It can just be small. Like in Antigua, one of the things that my crew did to help and give back was help raise a litter of 10 puppies.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, and the feeling that you get from that is just absolutely amazing. Or going to the local shelter and helping them build, structures and walk dogs and pet kitty cats, and going to the local donkey reserve and all of those things. So as you can tell, I'm an animal lover. But doing those things, getting out and moving, going fishing, taking the tender out, going to the beach and digging huge holes with the dog, you know, like all of those things, the movement really makes such a difference. And, you know, we're still here in Antigua. We're the only yacht left, waiting on our ship to arrive. So as you can imagine, we're getting a little stir crazy too. Not nearly as much as I'm sure you, Liam, but getting off the boat is just so important, and moving your body. And so I try to just find things. But what was cool the other day was I had a crew member say that she wants all of us to start donating some sort of time to every community we touch. Yeah. And I was like, okay, this is awesome.
Yeah, that's touching, isn't it? I mean, we have to give back. I mean, even here in Sitka, Alaska, we're doing, I think, a community cleanup on Sunday, and the crew are like, Cap, really? I'm like, well, the old people are doing it locally. Like, you know, this is a seniors assisted community cleanup. And I'm like, it's only going to take us an hour, but it's our give back. And they recognize us. They'll see us there. They see us in the community. But Melanie, when's the first time you connected movement to mental health, if you don't mind sharing? Like, where have you seen that? And congratulations on a marathon, correct?
Yeah, I finally completed the London Marathon.
The London Marathon.
It was, I have to just, I have to just also connect with Kelly on that point. Just with connecting with the community, there's something about then just stepping out of the isolation on board to just click into reality is enough to just give people a bit of why again. And I remember that was something definitely for me in terms of movement that was important, or I felt was missing when I was crewing. It felt really hard to find the engagement pieces. I think there's more of them now. But I think movement for me, it's actually come a bit late. I think I passively was doing it in yachting. I mean, I was physically really tired. I think that is something I always drill down, is that really sleep comes first. Like quite often it's just, okay, well, you do need to get off the boat, but actually I'm running on 4 hours sleep. So what's going to win out like here? And it's like, do I have the reserves to safely go ashore and be able to hike up there? Or does that bit come first? And maybe I do a little bit of movement that's not quite as intense. Then it was the flip. To be honest, I could always find a reason to be so exhausted that I thought, no, I'm not going to go up that mountain today. But I definitely think hiking for me throughout yachting was the best way in which I could just get into nature and be like, oh, okay. I mean, the boat is always there. The jobs will always be there. The job list is never done. It's finding the reason to get off and be like, okay, I have enough in my tank to, even if it's walking, get off, and just some gentle exercise will do in this state. I think in terms of marathons, I've been using it as a tool, like long distance running more recently, because I couldn't do that. This is the whole point of me trying to set something that's doable in yachting. When I was working full time as crew, I couldn't do a marathon. I couldn't put the training in. There wasn't the time. You'd come off the boat and get injured instantly if you tried to go off and run X number of miles when you've been working on board for 4 months. So I think for me more recently, I've found long distance running because I can piece it in. And that was being postpartum. That was really me trying to find something that was returning to me at a time where you're kind of constantly giving. And that is something that's very similar into the hospitality industry, is you're constantly on, you're constantly in service mode, you're constantly serving. And it's finding the built-in opportunities to be like, oh no, this is for me. And marathon running offered that to me. But I knew that, well, we can't ask crew to just go off and run a marathon on behalf of charity. They're just, when in the year they're going to be able to do it? You know, I would never have been able to sign up. But this being flexible really can offer that and can give people a target to go for. You know, 26.
Well, the good thing is not just running either.
No, it's not.
Yeah, that's what me and my wife did it, because we walked every day, kind of like, I think it was 5 miles. We just keep walking every day. I'm like, I'm going to get there, Jeanette. It's October. I've got to get these miles in. Me or anyone, but that's all walk. So it was good fun. But Captain Scott, you and I, correct me if I'm wrong, but we kind of, community is important. We understand that. But as a captain, over the years, we end up finding a lot of, our strength, if this is correct, by investing in ourselves, whether it's breastwork or solo walks, things like that. How can we kind of break that a little bit and get out there more with a community of people? And where do we trade that off? It's a very open-ended question. That's the point of checking in, but how do we trade that off, the value of self-time and community time?
Well, I mean, for me, I know the difference it's made with me is just the self-time has to come first, because if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anyone else. And you might think you're helping, but you're not optimized. If you're not your best self, you're probably helping, but you could do better if you put a little bit of time into yourself. But just getting out into the community, I think it's kind of a big push recently, and it's only probably, I would say, in the last 5 years that we're doing more community outreach things, because it was such a private industry, and such that, like, we keep to ourselves. We don't, you don't want to cause any attraction or anything like that. When you don't want people to follow you back. And there are some places where I would discourage the crew to not wear the crew uniforms out, because sometimes it attracts the wrong type of attention and stuff like that. But I would say for me, it's just working on myself first, but definitely engaging more with the crew and the people around. Like you mentioned, I think a couple of weeks ago, where wherever you go, and you're going to be there for the summer, you go and introduce yourself and the crew and everything to the people there, and let them know that, hey, if you guys need anything, that's us, what have you. We're planning to have a crew barbecue or what have you, before the kick off the season, stuff like that. That way you actually know who you're dealing with. I think it lessens the friction, because there can be a little bit of animosity on both sides between us and other groups. I think the more you can lessen that and just get out, even with vendors and contractors you're dealing with in these locales, that hey, invite them to come by too, because you want them to be a part of what we're doing too. We're all in the same goal, so the more ourselves as captains can get out there and do it, I think it encourages the rest of the crew to engage as well.
Yeah, I think it normalizes it, if that makes any sense, because there's so many hierarchical, sometimes ego-driven, places in yachting, whether it's on board or off, or the industry, and to normalize the human factor of, like, Captain Kelly and the dog and a family, and you've got a life, you know what I mean? And Melanie and what you're doing, the more we can normalize it in yachting, and that's why I like these check-in Tuesdays. It's like, it makes, like, today I woke up, I'm like, yes, I'm excited. You know what I mean? I get to speak to some beautiful people, but I'm also tired, and I've got a lot of stresses on, a lot of happening in Alaska. But you're right, community, I don't know, it's the most important thing, I think, in terms of yachting, if you can give back. But it's hard for owners and industry professionals to understand that, because I think they think we're living the dream out here on these yachts and traveling, and Alaska's amazing. But I look at it, I've got 10 to 12 souls on board in a place that is very remote in Sitka, and it's got risks. There's a fishing fleet here, which they're exposed to a lot of drugs and alcohol in these fishing fleets, and I know it. So my briefings to the crew are, there's two paths. Choose nature. It's the number one path you want to choose in these communities, is choose nature and try and give back to the people that need it. We're talking about vulnerability, Melanie. Running does bring up that naturally. How do you overcome that with some of the people that, because running's a hard one, you're judged normally. How do you kind of break down that vulnerability that anyone can run?
It's a good question. I do think this is going to, in the risk of sounding very corny, but something I got very hooked on when actually trying to achieve a full marathon was this concept of time, and trying to run for a time, and everyone getting, well, I'm not really a runner because I'm not running fast enough, or I can't run a 5K in 25 minutes, all of this. And this idea that you're not running for a time, you're running for your time. It's literally space for you. And ultimately, unless you're an elite, you're not running against other people.
Yeah.
So it's really hard. I think there's this element of, if you either people saying really, well, I'm not a runner, if they're running well, I've only run 3K or I only run. Yeah, but if you've got out and you put one foot in front of the other and it hasn't, if it's been even marginally close to stepping off one foot before the other one, you're jogging, you're running. And I think it's a space for everybody. And I think it's your own ego that can kind of get in the way and be like, well, that's not me. But actually, I think it's an interesting one. I think everyone has the capability of doing it in whichever form looks right for them. And it's actually probably the comparison is the thief of joy in this area. I think if you have managed to go out, even if you haven't got a running watch, or even if you haven't put it out on Strava or all of those things, it's
like the runner's high. I've run 3 marathons. One was, the first thing was during COVID, where we got stuck in.
Oh my God! Wow!
I didn't start.
I'm sitting over here like, Mel, I'm laughing because I'm like, yeah, I'm the person that like just gets down the dock running and I'm like, I'm dying. I'm dying. I can't run. I'm like, oh my God. So I'm everything you just described. But okay, so.
But the thing about running is down the dock's fine. Like my brother runs a lot and he was like, slow is pro. Like that's what marathon, it's so, like, we're not professional athletes. It's so slow that you converse, you have a conversation. That's long distance running. And it's really weird. Like in COVID in Malta, that's when I first ran the first one. And it was just like nothing to do in COVID and just every morning run, and it was just, eventually I started down the dock out of breath. Next day, okay, I'd go to the tree. Yeah, okay, that's exhausting. And I'd slow down and go to the tree and back. And just, it's the weirdest thing running. You build this endurance physically and mentally, but it does take 6-12 months. Like running marathons is not an easy feat, But
you meet the vulnerability there. That's what's so, I think what also makes people so nervous is your brain will tell you your body's not going to cope long before your body can actually stop coping with what you're doing. And
it's all even before I put my socks and shoes on. I don't even have my socks and shoes on and I'm dying.
Yeah, I'm not saying. Sometimes I'll get it all ready and I won't even run. I'll just walk. And I'm like,
yeah.
All right, I couldn't run.
At least you got out there.
That's what you had in the tank that day. That's still all right.
But the vulnerability, Captain Kelly, like you open up, and that's being very vulnerable. How do we encourage people to be vulnerable? Because I think there's a big space of growth in vulnerability. It's kind of, there's certain things you can't share, certain things you can. But just that general, how do you feel? How are you? And that's where Check-In Tuesday started. You there, Captain Kelly?
I'm here, yeah. Well, I mean, you hear me scream it all the time. Like, you've got to be vulnerable. You've got to just be your most authentic version of yourself, and unapologetically so. And that's been, I mean, I'm really proud of where I am in life and my career in all facets. And it's because I have, worn my emotions on my sleeve. And people say, well, you shouldn't do that. Or when you make decisions, take the emotion out of it. And I'm like, that's the stupidest thing ever, because we're humans and emotion is involved in every single thing that we do. And my mom, it probably started with my mom, because she was like, you be you be yourself. You don't change for anybody. And, then through all of the, I mean, it's no secret to the industry that I went through my own huge bouts of depression and not wanting to be on this side of the dirt anymore. And the therapy, oh my God, I think therapy is for everyone. And if everyone could spend some amount of time, like, that's what really allowed me, being in therapy for years, allowed me to really dig deep and find the things and find the stuff and go back to when my mom said, you be unapologetically you. And it's okay to wear your emotions on your sleeve. And it's okay to let people know, when you're happy, when you're mad, when you're sad, when you need help. And it has just worked for me. But I think that we're starting to see more and more, just across the board in all industries and of just life, when you are vulnerable and when you are willing and get that comfortable to just be yourself, it opens doors for other people. And when you become vulnerable and you open up, everybody else around you will. And then I think that's just when you really grow as a team. I mean, like when I just look around here on the boat, how close we are and how much we know about one another. And you know, I had one of my students told me, she says, how do you do that? It was one day that I said, I'm just having a day. And she's like, how do you admit that? And I said, but look what just happened. Me admitting it to you, then you then come to me, ask me if I need help. And then we have this whole conversation about openness and vulnerability. It's just, I don't know. You just, but it's hard. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of inner work to be okay and comfortable in your own skin. But we're all fighting our own battle, right? Like we're all up against something.
Absolutely. A lot of times too, when crew come with difficult situations, I said, this is the place we're meant to be. It's okay. We're meant to be here. This is a tough moment. It's all right. Let's be honest with each other. This isn't an easy day, or the stresses are coming at us, but we're going to get through it together as a team. You know, as a leader, Captain Scott, how do you try and work with your teams and your heads of the department to create that kind of safe space where they can reach out to each other?
Well, I think it comes down to probably just the way I communicate with them and make sure that I check in with them and everybody. I know Captain Dean said, I think last week, where he always makes a point to check in with every crew member every day, or at least just walk by and say hi to them. And I always kind of made it a point of with every head of just to kind of see how they're doing. And you can usually tell after you've been with them for a while, just to see where they're at and how they're doing. Even if they say everything's fine and they're kind of standoffish, you really got to kind of maybe push a little bit and say, hey, well, what's really going on here? You know, it's okay. And if, you know, also if just having some of these conversations with them, because I know it took me a long time through a lot of my younger days to figure out that I'm the problem. It's not anybody else.
You're talking about me. You're talking about me, Scott.
I'm definitely like, especially because when I was younger, I was known to kind of be highly self-destructive and a lot of things that I did. And I wasn't violent or anything like that. It was just highly destructive behavior for myself. And I was like, at a certain point, I had to realize that, hey, this is not gonna. If this is what I want, this, you know, it can't continue this way. There's no way it's sustainable. So I have to fix something with me. And it took a long time and a lot of hard conversations with myself and other people. And getting to what Captain Kelly was saying, you know, it's one of those things where if you show people that you're able to open up, a lot of times that makes the biggest difference. And I know that, you know, me being the problem, a lot of times maybe the reason why they're down is because something I didn't communicate to them effectively, and they're kind of in a weird space where they're not sure what to do or how to respond because I'm their superior and they don't want to put themselves in any worse of a position. So you have to kind of breach that divide and kind of figure out, because each person is different and you have to treat each person differently, and then each situation within that is different as well. So, you know, because we all are handling things at a different rate or different speed and stuff like that. So, you know, and some things may not be a big issue to someone, but someone could have been carrying something that you said or just off the cuff that wasn't a big deal to you. They could be carrying that for weeks, you know, and if you don't really investigate it, or if you explain to them that, hey, if there's an issue, please bring it forward now. If not, you need to let it pass. You know, and a lot of times I say that, but sometimes maybe that's not the best way, because maybe some people need to be pulled aside and deal with that.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
You know, I'm not a therapist or anything.
Yeah.
but you know, I am a dad, and I know a lot of times we get a leg up being a parent, seeing, you know, like how people actually grow and react to things. I think sometimes we have that gives us a little bit of a jump on the way people are growing.
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing, you know, Captain Scott. That was very, very eye-opening, and you know, going back and looking at our own faults in life, I think does help us. I mean, but Melanie, as a chef on board, what would you like a captain to do? You know, because a lot of times people don't answer that question. Like, as a captain, you're trying to these different techniques, and you're trying to read, and you're trying to study, and you're doing leadership courses. But you know, a lot of times I'll ask crew, "What do you want out? What are you expecting out of me?" So what would you like? What is the small thing a captain's done in your career as a chef that either upset you, maybe, is the easier one, what not to do?
There's a list of those.
I've got a list of one for instant bridge building, and that was they came and did some washing up.
Oh, wow. There you go.
They came and they could just see the galley was pressed, and we were really, really pressed. I was like, right, okay, what do you need? Can I empty the dishwasher? It was so practical, and it was just like, oh my gosh, in that moment, I think that brought so much good grace for that person in a weird way. Maybe it is transactional, but at the same time, it was really practical help. That was the need in that moment, right?
Yeah.
It was just, it's so weird that you said that. I was like, oh, I know what it is. It sounds really simple. And also something one said, just well, what will help you? Like, what will help you in this scenario? Rather than kind of trying to pull threads of putting adjustments in place for you, thinking that's the best for that person. It was actually having a bit of a conversation over management. I mean, we'd had a ridiculous day. In many ways, it was just like an operating kind of question, but it was causing so much stress on board. We'd had almost, you know, guests being really, really badly hurt on a mountain in the Arctic. So again, I was operating very remotely. I was also one of the lead kind of medical trained people. You've got guests expecting, you know, I've been prepping sushi and expecting sushi. You've got, you know, really just, we had a, you know, issue when the engine room covered in poo. Like, you can't even make it up. It was hilarious. You know, you had to take yourself away and laugh in that scenario. We're like, what else can happen today for us? Really, what else? Like, we've nearly, you know, someone's nearly died. There's been an avalanche. You know, we got, it was just ridiculous. It was ridiculous how much was going on board. And I remember the captain just turned around. He was like, should we drop the sushi? Today. And I was like, do you know what? That would be really helpful. Do you know what? That would be great. You know, like a small tweak and just some guest expectations of what was actually achievable when we're trying to manage someone who's literally been traumatized alongside operating the vessel, all of these things. You know, I worked in smaller crews, so of course there's always a bit more of kind of give and take in people's responsibilities. But there was very little we could do about that. But I think it's reading the room in acute scenarios where it's like, okay, what can we drop? And sometimes it just goes a long way when it feels like the captain would rather have the hard discussion with the guest in this one small area in order to alleviate multiple pressures for crew.
Yeah.
And allow us to continue our day. We still had to, you know, go sailing that afternoon. We still had loads and loads and loads we had to achieve, which was physical.
On a sailboat as well. So the whole thing's on a sailboat too, just to top it off.
Just to top it off. You know, we've literally got to lift anchor and go to another fjord and sail it, you know. So there's a reason that all of a sudden is feeling very stressful for everybody. So yeah, just very small tweaks in terms of operations that would put basically crew first. It doesn't have to be all the time, but at times where literally shit is hitting the fan.
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
Well, I think it's finding the pressure points. You know, a lot of times as a captain, you are pushing. Like this week, I know we've got a very tough week on our crew. This one's going to hurt, but once we get through this and we've got all these things accomplished, we're going to be in a better place. You know, so here's the challenge, but here's the reward. but then you ease up the certain pressure points that happen. There's certain things I know are going to happen this week, and I'm going to say, okay, let's not worry about that. Let's not prioritize that. Let's focus on something that's a bit more fun, and that releases the tension. So a lot of times too, you notice that, Captain Kelly, a lot of times you'll find tension in rooms, and whether it's humor or something, it's like, how do you break that down? You know, what's your
and that's the thing, is I can feel it. That's it. You know, it's a double-edged sword, having that ability. Like I can just be outside the room and I feel it, and I'm like, oh, sometimes I wish I didn't have that superpower.
Yeah.
But you know, it's sometimes it can just be as simple as coming in and smiling and joking and laughing and cutting up with the crew to try to break that. Or sometimes, you know, it's a little bit more serious and you need to sit down and say, okay, guys, like, what is going on? Like, let's get to the bottom of this. You know, we're not going to be done until we've gotten to the bottom of it and suss it out. But it's knowing when you have to step up in those moments of discomfort. And it's hard, because there's days that I'm just like, oh, I don't want to deal with this right now. I don't have the capacity to do it, but you have to, for your team, and to keep that camaraderie and that team intact. And I mean, that's all part of being a proper leader. But I want to say this as well. One of my crew members, we had one of the last maneuvers we made was stressful, and you know, it was gusting like 25, and it was hard for me to get on the dock. And I could tell at the end of it, she was a little bit irritated. And I went and I asked her, I said, are you irritated with me, with the boys? What? Because she works outside with the boys, and sometimes that can be hard. And it wasn't, she wanted to cool off. And a couple of things, what was hard for me is when I know there's something going on, I have to sort it like right now. Well, she's the personality that needs to go sleep on it. She needs to sit on it for a minute. And then we finally talked about it. And what she was saying was she needed more communication. And I was like, well, is that, and she'd been saying that for a little while. And I'm like, is that with me? Is that with the boys? And finally she said, no, I need it from you.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, wow. But I told her, I said, here's the thing. And here's what I mean by it's a two-way street with crew. So for those crew that are listening, as captains, we have to set you up for success, but you have to set us as captains up for success. If you don't tell us what you need, if you don't tell us what we've done wrong, we can't fix it. Yeah. And she kept saying she needed more communication. And it wasn't until weeks later, she finally said, it's with you that I need more communication. And so I told her that. I said, you've not been setting me up for success by not being honest with me and telling me that. You know, I thought it was with the boys that you needed more communication with. So I guess I want for crew to know that leadership is not always from the top down. It sometimes is from the bottom up. And in fact, it's always both ways. It's unidirectional. It's top down, it's bottom up. So I always say, be the leader you wish you had, you know, so that it's we're a team, you know.
Yeah, well, a lot of that feedback, that open communication, and that's kind of what we're talking about with these check-in Tuesdays, is create the space, create that the space where you can communicate. I remember I had one chef that used to, at the end of 2 years working together, and I was like, is everything good? He goes, you just don't spend any time with me. And I'm like, well, that's a hard one. Like, well, and he was like a 2-year review, and he was upset. And I said, well, it's okay, but what do you mean? He goes, well, I see you happy and you go around to everyone else and you help everyone else. And you do. I said, well, to be honest, I grew up in a restaurant, and the kitchen, it's a painful environment, the kitchen sometimes. You know, I grew up with fathers and brothers and chefs and the restaurants. I think I went to sea because the kitchen was so intense. You know what I mean? But his point was, you know, I said, but you don't have any problems. You don't bring me any problems. Like, I never see an issue in your department. So I go and check every day with you, blah, 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 all that. He goes, yeah, but, you know, it gets lonely there. And I said, well, it gets lonely on the bridge too. He's like, okay, I didn't know that. I said, all right. And then from then on, we'd chat. Like, it'd be great. He'd come up for a cup of tea, or he'd read a book up here on the bridge, and I'd go down there and have a chat with him a little bit more often and do some dishes. our relationship developed from after the 2-year period. You know, we both thought we were okay, but we were both lonely. You know, and that's something that the crew out there listening need to understand is everyone's roles is a little lonely. You know, whether you're a deckhand waxing in the rain or whether you're a stewardess doing laundry and huge piles keep coming in and no one values you. And I think that's where yachting needs to be more open and transparent with each other and the challenges we have. Captain Scott, to you, mate, how do you kind of see that loneliness being overcome between departments or between individuals on board? Do you notice when people are lonely and try and check in?
I try to, but I a lot of times I would imagine I miss a lot of things because I'm not there all the time. And like to Captain Kelly's point, where she didn't know that was an issue until somebody brought it up. And sometimes the way I grew up was, if you're doing a great job, if no one comes and tells you that you're not.
Yeah, that's the compliment.
Yeah, that's if they leave you alone, then you're doing everything fine. So that's been a big hurdle for me to get through because like I've had younger crew and older crew say, well, we don't get anything from you. I said, well, when I do the briefing and we do the meeting and I walk everyone through what we're doing, and no one has any questions, then I'm assuming everybody has it. And it took me a long time to realize that and what I started to do was go back and kind of just to make everything clear, because again, going to everyone takes things a little bit differently. The younger person might, you might need to put it in the WhatsApp group with diagrams and stuff, or else they're not going to get it. It's going to go in one ear and out the other. Whereas the older crew member, you tell them directly and say, this is what we're doing. Okay, got it. They got it, but and the person that's in between, I don't know what to tell them. So you got to do diagrams. You got to talk to them. You got to walk them around the deck. You got to physically walk them through the whole thing. And then maybe, but it just depends, everybody's different, but I've been known to sometimes not, to miss a few things. So I've kind of made a point to be more interactive with people. Like when I first started, I would imagine I just I was called Captain ADD a couple of times, where I just rip everything apart and try to do everything myself, and it made it pretty tough on other people, especially when it's like Friday afternoon, I'm ripping stuff apart, and they're like they want to go home, and I'm still there going at it.
Trying to lead your own way, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, that was not what I should have been doing. I should have been kind of getting people involved in what I was doing instead of just ripping it all apart.
Yeah.
I think the important thing, just one thing, Liam. I think the important thing for crew listening is to know that captains are humans too, and we screw stuff up, and we will, and like don't be afraid. Those days of I'm the captain, I'm right, you can't come to the bridge, those are way behind us.
Well said. Well said.
We're human too,
Yeah, we make a lot of mistakes. Yeah. The main thing is I know all of us here, we're good at owning up to our mistakes and I know when I make a mistake, I try to walk other people through it just because it helps me learn, and then hopefully it shows them that they can fast track and not make that mistake, when they take over or when they're in a position of doing something. Because if we learn from people that are senior to us, that makes us grow a lot faster than us having to go through that, because it takes us a lot more time to go through ourselves. Whereas if we see somebody else doing it and going through it, we realize that and we take that in a lot easier, especially if we see Captain Liam doing something or Captain Kelly owning up to a mistake. Okay, well, that's a big deal because it was a big deal to her.
Yeah. We are excluding Melanie a little bit. I'm sorry, Melanie. We're into this captain's world.
She doesn't make mistakes.
What captains are like.
Oh, I absolutely do.
Exactly. So tell us more. Marathon of Mental Health. May 2026. It's opened. So registrations. I went on there yesterday. There was 2 options. Am I correct? One you can register individual, and one you can register. Oh no, with or without equipment.
Yeah, so basically we've simplified the joining instructions this year. So you can either enter completely virtually through our eco entry. So you will still be a part of it. You can still come into the Strava group, and you can still receive our updated how-to for yacht crew guide, which has our kind of really our very considered and thought out mental health resources and support in. And then we have a kind of a kit bag one where you do get a medal pin and you get your feel good cap, and we'll ship those out to everybody in September, and that's a £30 entry. So we've tried to make it more simple. I think thank you. That's from last year. That's it. What's really great is we've gone through and revised all of that this year. So it took a long time, even in the first year, because we went to FLAG, we went to medical insurance companies, we went to management companies to really tighten up all of this information.
Yeah, it's great. I don't know if you've seen it, Captain Kelly, Captain Scott.
No, why don't I have one, Mel?
Absolutely awesome.
If you enter the marathon, this is the mental health resource that we
get. All right.
I just told myself out. Wow. that did not go as I wanted it
to. So edition 2 is out this year. Thank you, Liam.
No problem.
So that's part of also the work that goes into the marathon, is to make sure this resource is there, and it signposts with an agreed way across all the management companies, or all of we said, okay, if you are to evacuate someone in emotional stress, go through it this way. If you are having to report abuse and harassment, it's agreed with FLAG, management, everything. This is the order in which you do it. Just to try and make sure there's actually helpful resources. It's literally called a quick grab guide for a reason. You can literally pick it up and be like, okay, you hopefully boats have these policies on board, but I mean, very few, 15% of the yachts are managed, Hopefully the marathon can break through into the sphere of people that aren't managed, and they can have an SOP there. But yeah, we've tried to simplify the marathon this year. Eco entry, you can do it wherever you are, or we have the kind of kit bag entry. So you have your cap, and that way you can kind of feel part of the community wherever you are. And then we also have a community 5K program running again this year, which was such a great way to get people together. It was a lot of organization, and it's a lot of organization again this year. So we put on 10 locations across the globe where people can meet and do 5K together. And we will do that again this year. So that's also another way. You don't have to be necessarily signed up to the full marathon in order to partake in those 5Ks, but it's just another opportunity for people to meet and also fundraise at those events. So,
but the key is just not a run also, Captain Kelly. It's not a run. Yeah. So I think there's a QR code there. This one, yeah. That's a QR code, Marathon Mental Health. And we got Yachty Minds Matter as well. So we donate to IS1, Yachty Minds Matter. It's about helping with crew. But that's the QR code. I think that's the Marathon for Mental Health, that one above.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah.
How did you put it there? You have that on the wall, do you, Melanie?
Stuck.
Yes. Whoa.
Stuck on my shoulder.
Exactly. You carry it around with you.
When I go to the boat shows, like a little sim, people could just.
And are you doing anything during the Fort Lauderdale boat show? Do you know if there's something going to happen?
Well, hopefully. So we touch base with the lovely yacht designer Adam Lay, who has the Super Yacht Run Club. Hopefully we're going to be... Yeah, we connected again at Palmer Boat Show, and I'm really hopeful that together we can put something on through that vehicle, so that we can do it as a kind of closing off of the marathon for the last event, maybe through partnership with them. So fingers crossed we'll have Fort Lauderdale on the... We did have people do a run through the Waiko office last year, but it would be nice if we got more folks involved as part of the...
I don't know, the American side of things too, because they're both... Sometimes a lot of times the European market and the American market are quite separate. And I'm like, it's the same industry, and so many boats are dual season. So you never know,
Yeah, absolutely. And we also had Fiji and New Zealand looped in with the 5Ks last year. So we really try and make sure that as many locations are covered as possible. It would be lovely to get some people out in the UAE involved and things like that. But again, it's reliant on also me being able to put the hosts in place that I know people are there at the time. So it takes quite a lot of organization to, you know, I can't be flying out to all these places. I managed to do the Palmer one, but I have to put the hosts in place in all of these locations and ensure they know the routes and no one's falling over and twisting an ankle, you know.
Yeah, and support as well, because it is a
Yeah.
run does have its injuries, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Ideally, no one's going to hurt themselves on our watch. I think you can't take that yacht crew mentality out of your mind then, of when you know all the risk is on your plate of keeping everyone safe. It's like I don't want anyone, you know, to say, oh my God, I can't go back on board because I've twisted my knee going up that hill. And then they're out of work, you know.
Exactly. All right, let's wrap it up. Captain Kelly, you're in Antigua, correct?
I am. I'm waiting on my ship. Scott, like, maybe you need to go tell them to get going because they're still in West Palm.
No,
They have to come and get us.
I'm on it. I'll go talk to him.
Go
lift the anchor. Do the sign. Lift the anchor.
Literally, this is no joke. We're in Falmouth Harbor. We are the only yacht here. The only yacht. It's embarrassing.
It's blowing. It's been blowing pretty good, so that probably.
I figured that's why. Yeah.
So, we'll see.
Yeah. This has been great, and thanks. And this was so good to see Mel. I mean, you guys, it's always good to see you. But to see Mel, this is awesome.
You too. It's really good to see you.
Let me show you Sitka, Alaska.
Oh, nice.
That's gorgeous.
Love it, man.
Oh, look at that creamy sun.
Such a beautiful place.
Yeah, it's snow-capped mountains. It's absolutely stunning here. So I'm gonna start my day at 7 o'clock now. I've had my coffee warming up, and I feel great. I'm gonna take everyone's advice, and I'll go check in with the crew, and I might even do some dishes today for you, Melanie.
Yeah.
There you go.
In the galley.
The small things.
Well, it's funny. We talk about vulnerability. Like, we had a tough passage coming up here. It was really rough, and a couple of the crew were sick, and food's a big thing. Yeah, I got in the galley. I was like, steak. And then I got in, and then all of a sudden the engineer came in, and and then the junior stew who's just joined us came in, and then someone else. It was like 4 of us in the galley. And it was like, great. It was like, okay, we're alive. Okay. We're going to make this. You know, and everyone had a dish, and it came together. And I was like, and that finished our passage nicely. So I think, you know, that's where crew, when someone steps down or something happens, the crew has to come in. And my biggest advice to people out there on Check-In Tuesdays, step up. If people are having a tough day, step up. You don't have to be a psychologist or therapist. You have to be a human being that cares for other human beings, because we all have baggage. So, I appreciate it. Have a beautiful day. Thank you for your time. I'll see you next Tuesday. I'll see you anywhere you are. Have a blessed day and look after yourselves.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.